I think this is point number 4 or 5, whatever it is. I'm not gonna go back and check. But another thing is just relax. You know, a lot of people, they get so passionate about what they do is great. And some people get angry, but it's okay to be angry, but you should have controlled anger. Like, to be angry to the point where somebody says something and you react and you try to say something louder, or you say words that's offensive, that's going to cause the opposing side to be more emotional and more angry, more so than not. When people are emotional, they're less likely to understand something. Whatever movement or community you're trying to do, you could get your point across if the opposing side is not emotional. So the best thing to do is not to be overly emotional. I mean, you could be sad, you could cry, whatever, but it should be controlled. Especially if it's anger. It should be controlled anger. Just keep that in mind. Like, keep in mind that you should relax. Even if somebody says something offensive to you. Sometimes people will try to provoke you because they can't respond and they don't have a rebuttal and they can't really challenge what you just said. If somebody says something and you get offended, it's okay, but you can still be relaxed. I was told by somebody, you're at your best when you're relaxed. It shouldn't be too relaxed when you're lazy, but relaxed where you could control yourself. It's not overbearing anybody else. This, I think, probably second to last point, just relax. And you should start being relaxed before the conversation happens. Understand the opposing side. Like, whenever, you're doing some kind of field of activism, and I'll just understand that the opposing side, like, if you're trying to pass legislation, not only should expect an opposition, you should understand the opposition, no matter what your movement is. The first thing you might say, why would I agree with the opposing side? There's a difference between understanding and agreeing. You could understand somebody, but completely disagree with them. Understand, like, if I was a conservative Christian, I could understand a prostitute, but totally disagree with it. I could understand why somebody sell themselves for money if they really had to support a child or whatever. And we could even go with something along the lines of activism, since we're talking about it. Like, for instance, like if you are trying to say transgender females should be treated just like females, not only should you expect opposition and objection, you should understand it. You got to take yourself away from yourself and put yourself in their shoes. That would help you better explain your point to them, and will help them understand you if you understand them. And before you even say anything, remember, understanding is not agreeing, and agreeing is not understanding. I think that's it. So it's like where somebody's like really trying to get at you, the difference is okay. They're gonna have a point. And sometimes, two ideas could coexist at the same time. You could have something that rebuttals somebody else, but they could both coexist. One person said, women have advantages in society, and somebody else said women have many disadvantages in society. This was obviously a conversation about feminism, but regardless, that's besides the point. They both could coexist. Women could have advantages in society, and women could also have disadvantages at the same time. So you got to understand that. It would definitely help you when you're trying to be an activist in your road of getting your point across or changing anything or something. So last but not least is to have a plan ready. I couldn't tell you how many activists, they say, even though they're not the leader of the movement, they step up, they say something, but they don't have a plan. Like, very often, and it happens a lot, someone would say something like, there's a problem with this issue. And someone else in a crowd or an audience would say, all right, now we know what the problem is. What's the solution? Because if you tell me the atomic bomb is going to land here in like 20 minutes, you're probably better off not even telling me. Like, all right, the atomic bomb is going to land here. What can I run from it? Is there a plane to fly me the hell out of here? Thanks for making me aware. But now I'm aware. Now what? Even though sometimes it might just start with awareness, some people would be feel more obligated to take your information as knowledge if you have a plan, some kind of solution, or a start for a solution. Now, this this last point, I made it last because it might not go with everything. Maybe you might not have a plan if you just want people to be less sexist, or be aware of their racist views, or you know, you want people to be aware that Donald Trump ideas might not be the best. There might not be a plan for that. It might just be like, since you know, now you know what to do. So this last point is the last point for a reason, because it's like, not everything needs a plan, but if you're trying to make a movement and an affirmative action, some kind of affirmation for an action, then you know you should actually have a plan ready to go and get something done to some extent. So you know, the only way you'll know is through experience. You know what? That's not the last idea. This is the last idea. This is generally for people who are young, and when I say young, I mean mid-20s and younger. Don't come into a debate, argument, discussion with something that you feel is definitive. And before you get into the realms of debating or like really pushing a plan, come into a discussion or a movement ready to learn. Because even though you're right, you may not know how to deliver your message that is right. And your message would have to be challenged a few times for you to know how to deliver it. So I see a lot of young people, they start talking about something, and sometimes they're right, but they don't know the resources or references to defend their ideas. And it's because it hasn't been challenged enough. So my thing is for these youngins is to just relax and then be a student more than a teacher, because it takes some years for especially big ideas and big movements to be implemented. Like, you know, you might want to fight, you know, the high cost of living, but don't even really know why it is. It is very deep for certain things. So I would recommend, if especially if you're going to have a big movement, is to take some time and ask questions instead of saying this is wrong and this is my idea, or this is wrong and this is why I feel it's wrong and you should do this and you should think that, before going to that level. Especially with people who are more older or have experience with it, you should be a student and try to absorb as much knowledge, so when you step up to the plate and you got something to say, you know, you'll be able to defend your ideas more. So that was last and least. I'm gonna get back to talking about black women, and you know, it's not about saying that black women have that negative stereotype. It's about how to better and change things. I'm gonna get back on that topic. I just felt like I really had to talk about this because I feel like a lot of activists don't understand activism, and every certain subject is just so deep, so much deeper than what you think and know. And people just probably watch one documentary and feel like they're ready to preach and they're ready to be Aaron Brockovich. Now, not everybody's gonna do that. This is much deeper than you think. So with that in mind, I love all my supporters because I don't have support. I don't have fans. I have supporters. So I love all of y'all out there, and stay black.